Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Najee Wilkins, along with Craig Sager. We've got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We're going to have on Walton baseball coach Shane Amos. Just recently got his 500th career win here in the state of Georgia. We'll have Hayden on for Hayden's high school hits. We'll talk about our fast break headlines and much, much more today on the show. But without further ado, let's go to bring on Shane Amos, the Walton baseball coach. We're still waiting for him. Okay.
So, yeah, we wanted to have Coach Amos on. I think you guys, if you watched the show yesterday, heard about the milestone. He got his 500th career victory, I think this past week in a win over North Paulding. Huge milestone. And what's so impressive about it, he's been there for 25 seasons. That's a 20 win per year average, which is, I mean, that's like winning the region. That's pretty significant. I'd equate that to about like 9 or 10 wins per year in football. Just the level of consistency is amazing. He's seen a lot in the state of Georgia. You see the 500 balloon right there, the celebration, big win over North Cobb. So yeah, that would have been last week. He's probably at about 503 victories now. But this year's Walton's team is exceptional. You see the hitting right there, putting up 13 runs. And then they also have a brand new facility. So that's another transition for this team. When Walton built the new school, it's absolutely beautiful. A couple years ago, I think it opened actually last year. They have a brand new baseball facility for the first time in a while, and that would be pretty awesome for them to be able to hang a championship banner or two at that new facility. But they are in a very tough region. They got North Cobb, North Paulding's a big series recently, and then Etowah, who I actually have number one in the rankings right now. That's because they won the 6A state title last year. They're number 8 nationally in the rankings. So they are considered the best team, but we will see when they square off at the end of this month.
Yeah, 100%, Craig. And obviously, got big series coming up. They are actually on a 6-game winning streak, which I was going to ask Coach about. 12-2 so far in the year. I believe coming up they're going to play Cherokee, but they're playing really well so far in their region, and obviously they're a really good team here in the state. But what do you think is the difference between maybe this team and years past? Last year had a pretty good group, but I feel like this team is playing at a kind of a different level this year.
Yeah, so last year I talked to Kell's baseball coach, talked to some other ones in the area, and I asked a simple question: Who's the most talented team you guys have faced this season? And he was like, that Walton team, they were basically just, he said they were locked in. Their combination of base running, the defense, not allowing a lot of errors, just making it really hard to get on base, and then the rotation at pitching. But offensively, you see them really coming up clutch this season, putting up a lot of runs. Looks like they've already scored 129 through 14 games so far.
I think we do have Coach ready to go, so go ahead and bring it on. Hey, Coach, how's everything going?
Good. You guys have me okay?
Yes, sir. We have you good.
Great.
Perfect.
I had a little hard time getting on there.
No worries. Well, Coach, I know obviously you brought on Coach Amos. You got a good connection here, so I'm going to let you lead.
Hey, Coach Amos, first of all, congratulations on the 500th career win at Walton. I wanted to just ask you about what kind of stands out in terms of the reward of being at Walton so long and getting to this 500 milestone.
Well, I think first of all, Walton has treated me very well since I've been here. As you know, I've been here forever. I started in 1986, and they've really treated me really well here. And I think the longevity and basically being a great tutelage of coaches and coming through my young career, and it's really helped me a lot as far as the longevity, and then obviously being able to put myself in this situation.
And then this schedule you guys have, you already have played 14 games. You've had 6 region games already. Also, you're 6-0 in that standpoint. You swept North Cobb, swept North Paulding. You got Cherokee coming up, Wheeler, Etowah. Very tough region, but how pleased are you so far just with the 6-0 start and just the focus you've seen from the guys so far?
Yeah, I'm very pleased so far. As you know, like you just stated, this region, I think, is the toughest one in the state of Georgia as far as all 8 regions combined. So I think starting off 6-0, and especially with the caliber of teams that we have in this region, I think that's a great start. And I'm very pleased with the way we're playing at this moment.
And then talk a little bit about the new baseball facilities at Walton. Just what a game changer that's been for you guys. Just how exciting that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have a situation and a place to play that, is actually a flat surface. As you know, our old baseball field has so many, little ovulations and, little things in it. And a lot of work was going to have to be done on it. And this is a state of the art. I mean, the surface is good. The hitting facility is bar none. I think one of the best in the state. I think I love where it sits out there. It's out there in the open, and it gets sunshine all day. And what better place to be is on a baseball field when the sun's shining.
Yeah, Coach Amos, I saw you as a teacher when I was at Walden, obviously a football coach also. But what's kind of your philosophy when it comes to baseball? And I mean, this is a year-round sport for a lot of these guys. I'm sure guys like Hayden Gilstrap, multi-sport athletes, they look to be on the team. But just in terms of getting your team prepared for such tough competition.
Yeah, I think that's where high school baseball has its best going. Is the fact is that I think this is where the kids learn how to compete. A lot of times in the summertime, they're showcasing their talent. They're not necessarily competing. And so getting them to compete at a high level against other high level competition, I think it's the philosophy that we have always had. Play the best competition you can play, and it'll help you, help you with that competitiveness and get those guys to drive toward, not necessarily perfection, but getting out there and playing the game hard. And our philosophy has always been play the game hard and we'll see what happens.
And then, Coach, walk us through just who so far this season has really just impressed you, stepped up, maybe a team captain, a new starter on the mound, just who's been pivotal in this start?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the biggest key to our success right now has been our offense. I mean, we have been led from top to bottom. We've been able to hit pretty good through the region play so far and through the non-region play. I mean, right now you'd have to look at the top of our as far as average. Logan Wideman has really stepped up, a junior right-handed first baseman that's already hit 4 home runs, and he's batting about 477. And our pitchers have really stepped up. Our catchers are doing great. We're playing 2 catchers right now, and they're doing great at the plate. And our pitching is coming on. I mean, right now we got Highland Brown back from injury, and he's starting to pitch very well. Josh Siegel has done exceptional on the job, is probably anchoring down that number 1 spot for us. And then Caden Gilstrap just now getting off basketball. So we hope that, he gets better and better as we go.
And then, Coach, can you talk about the upcoming stretch that you're going to have? Obviously, Craig mentioned Wheeler and obviously Etowah teams coming up. But what about this series you have upcoming this weekend against Cherokee? What stands out there?
Yeah, Cherokee's really good. I mean, we're going to face Worley tonight, which is by far one of the best pitchers in the region, probably the state and in the country. I know he's being looked at as a draft pick, and I can't remember where he's committed to school right now, but we're going to face him probably tonight. And, we got to go out there and compete and, and play with him because, if we just let him go up there and just throw the pitches he wants and we don't have a good approach, then it's not going to be a fun day.
And then, Coach, can you talk a little bit about just the community aspect of this one team? Obviously, Craig mentioned the new facilities coming in, but just what is it like being there on a Friday or a Saturday afternoon, playing obviously in that Walton Stadium and a crowd and everybody behind you?
Yeah, I mean, it's exceptionally fun. I mean, when you get all the fans out there getting you going, and when you need that energy, your fan support is there. It's always great to do. And, these Friday night region doubleheaders, I mean, they're different. But it just kind of lets you know how resilient you got to be and how hard you got to go out there and focus, not just for 2.5 hours. You're going to have to focus for probably 5 or 6 hours when you're out there playing these region doubleheaders, and hoping the preparation and what we go through here will help us, kind of get ready for the doubleheaders in the state playoffs.
And speaking of the doubleheaders, Coach, I want to ask you a little about earlier this season. You played some really good teams in Pope and Creekview, obviously, who's kind of the standard here in the state. Just what do you think that revealed about your team? What are some key lessons you think your guys learned?
Well, I think, playing Pope and playing our non-region schedule, if you look at it, I mean, if we had RPIs, I think we'd have to be up there at the top. I mean, most of everybody we play in their respective regions and their respective areas. I mean, I think we played just about everybody's top 1 to 4 in a lot of these classifications. So, I think that has helped prepare us for the stretch that we got to do during this region. When you have North Paulding, Cherokee, Wheeler, and then you got obviously Etowah, and Marietta. I mean, those guys, they're all good teams. And so I think it just helps prepare all the non-region games that we're playing and the caliber of region and caliber of teams that we're playing.
And then, Coach, I want to ask you, obviously, this team has been close for a lot of years. We know how good of a program Walton is. Just in your eyes, Coach, I know it's game by game, obviously, but what do you think this team needs to do in order to compete, when it comes to playoff time and potentially make a run to the championship?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to get, obviously we're going to have to, our starting pitching is going to have to get a little bit stronger. And, and all of our pitching has to go out there and compete and throw strikes. I mean, I think we're just now getting there. I think a lot of teams are just now getting there where the pitcher's throwing more consistent strikes. The fact is we got pushed back. We got pushed back about 2 weeks from Georgia High School. So a lot of us didn't get a chance to do a lot of inter squads and build these pitchers up. So we've had to try to build these pitchers up along our way. And so I think now we're starting to get to where we're at a point that we should have been probably 2 weeks ago.
And Coach, you're talking about how pleased you were with the offense so far. Have you had to make any changes to just the lineup on the batting order, things like that, or you feel pretty confident with it right now?
I mean, pretty confident in it right now. I mean, the biggest thing is we got an injury to our shortstop, so we've had to take him out of the lineup for the last 2 weeks, and so we've had to move some things around. But it just seems to, keep clicking. I mean, our biggest thing is just push it down the line, and hopefully, if you don't get it done, give the next guy a chance to get it done. So it's one of those things where I think we're buying into it. Our approaches have been good. And we've been able to come back in a lot of games. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, we've had to come back and scrap and claw, and I think that's what the resilience of this team is.
And then has there been a particular play or clutch hit that's really stood out so far this season?
Well, I think the one that we had the other night against North Paulding down 5-0 in the third game, and we get a grand slam right there in the fourth to make it 5-4 to kind of get us back in that game. And I think that was a big one on the season right there to help us get past North Paulding last week.
100%. Yeah. Well, Coach Amos, I should say thanks so much for coming on and talking about your great Walton race. Definitely going to have you back on before postseason comes, Coach, and good luck this year.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, there goes Coach Amos. Coming up right after the break, we'll talk to River Ridge, head basketball coach Jason Taylor.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought. Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Nigel Wilson, along with Craig Sagerman. You can watch the show on the Atlanta News First app, also on the Peachtree Sports Network via YouTube TV and CBS Sports local streaming app, Zeem. So we're going to be joined by River Raid coach here in a second. But, Craig, we've seen them the last few years. I just want you to talk about just such a great program they've had. And I remember you saying it, I was just starting, but you was like, hey, River Ridge is a team to watch over the next few years. Before they had won the title, 2 and obviously the past 3 years. What did you know then that we're seeing the results of the fruits of their labor now?
Well, when I had their coach on the show kind of the first time, 1, it was just the youth. 2, the confidence. He said he felt like he had the best starting 5. He was honest about it at the time. He said, I don't know if we have too much depth, but our 5 on the court, I'll put them against anyone. And then it was just the fact that they seemed like such a self-motivated team where he couldn't get them out of the gym. And then when we saw them lose last year, we knew they were going to come back with a vengeance. And when you saw the resiliency and the grit that they had to have this year to be able to get it done, playing such tough competition, being in some tough spots, and then their team where anyone can go off, and it's not just going to be 1 primary scorer, 2 primary scorers. They just really feed off each other well. I think they're one of the more complete teams we've seen come through the state.
Understand. I think we have Coach Taylor ready to come on. What's going on, Coach?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good. Appreciate you coming on, Coach.
Hey, we got a few players here for you, too.
Hey, there we go. Love it, Coach. So, obviously, we've had you guys several times, obviously, in our Corky Kill. I just want to kind of go back. A great program. You built it from the ground up, Coach. Can you just talk about just developing, obviously, these great players behind you and this great talent and program that you have there in Woodstock?
Well, for us developing this program, it's these players. They do most of the work on their own. They're always working with their trainers. They're going after our practices, in the mornings before they get to school. They work with speed and agility people. So they all put in the dedication and the time off the court to be as successful as we are on the court. And each individual does that in addition to what we do. And like I said, these kids just love the game and they love playing and they love working and competing. And so they love each other. And I think that was probably the special ingredient for us this year is how much they care and they work for each other to get to where we were at in the season.
100%. And then I just want you to talk a little bit about the state championship game. You played a great Langston Hughes team. I know that was a battle all the way to the end. Just talk about that game, just your perseverance, just going through adversity and being able to come out on top for a second championship in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, first of all credit to Langston Hughes and Coach Trice. I mean, they pressured us like crazy. They disrupted our flow throughout the game. They got so many deflections and hands on balls and we're in passing lanes that they made it really difficult for us to do what we wanted to do. And again, we struggled mightily shooting the ball. That's typically not something that happens with us. We typically have pretty good shooting nights and, used to shooting well over 50% for a game from the floor, 3 and 2 combined. So we're used to making shots and putting up a lot of points, but it ended up being a game where, the biggest stress in the whole game was defense. Offense isn't there. You got to beat them with defense. And, offense finally showed up for us a little bit in the fourth quarter and we were able to get some stops and stretch it out. But man, it was a fun game. And again, it was about defense and them buying into, I think it was at the 5.5 minute when they took that under 6 timeout in the fourth quarter. We talked about we're getting the stops, but we're not getting the scores, and again, to win this, by the time the clock is at 3 minutes and we're hitting the next timeout, we need to have this down to a 6-point game instead of the 12, make it manageable. And then by the time we got to that point, it was already a 2-point game and we were coming back and tying and taking the lead. So it was, again, they never felt that it was, insurmountable. They believed in each other. They kept encouraging each other. And again, that's what was able to get us through.
For sure. And my final question before I throw it to Craig, I want to ask you about Kyla Canty. Obviously, she had a great year this past year. They had 4 scores in double figures, but can you just talk about her growth and development from this past year?
She's gotten a lot stronger. Again, Kyla's always had the skill and the ability is just being able to not get knocked around the floor and be strong and keep people in front of you. And she did a tremendous job defending for us this year. And that's probably where her game grew the most. That offensive ability and, how well she shoots the ball and can drive to the basket and those things. She's always been that good. kind of playing behind other players that maybe were a little bit more ready defensively than her. But this year she made that jump for us, and it's very, very solid. And again, it's somebody that she didn't do anything in that state championship game we've not seen her do all season. So had the confidence to call her number in those situations and some of those out of bounds plays. And, so just she's been tremendous for us this year.
And then, Coach, talk a little bit about Reagan Mulligan being able to win that three-point contest, just to add another accomplishment for this incredible week.
Reagan is a phenomenal shooter. That she flat out earned that. Again, she went for, I think, 22 in that final round. She's just phenomenal with the way she shoots the ball. And it's kind of like I was telling after the game in our interview, and as good as she shoots the ball, her little first step in getting to the goal and being able to get off her floater is probably even more dangerous than that three-point shot. But it's one of those situations, as soon as we get her stronger a little bit more, and she's going to be playing a huge role for us next year going forward. So kind of hope to see the kind of jump in production that Kyla gave us this year. Maybe Reagan's going to be able to give us that next year. And then,
obviously, Coach, your schedule this year was unbelievable. All the out-of-state matchups, probably more than you guys have ever scheduled in the past. You guys finished 31-1, nationally ranked at this point, but you got two of your state champions with you right now. Can you talk to us a little bit about them and just what stood out about their performances this year?
They were just solid every game. Kayla's our region player of the year. I would say is the glue that holds everything together on this team. She's dependent on to be able to score inside, outside, handle the ball when we're being pressured. She's a senior, Georgia Southern commit. Just her basketball IQ is off the chart. She's a phenomenal person too, probably more so than any of that. But again, all of our kids are that way, just phenomenal people. But Kayla is just consistent and solid. And there were nights where, like in the state championship game, the scoring wasn't there, but her defense against Faison was, Faison's scoring wasn't there either. So again, she's just a tremendous player, athlete, a lot of heart. And again, like I said, the glue that kind of solidifies us and holds us together. And then looking at Mackers, again, probably one of the strongest guards in Georgia, driving to the basket, being able to get to the basket and finish around the goal. Probably one of the best in the state at it. This year, increased her three-point percentage and how she's shooting the ball, sort of well-rounding her game, getting Division I offers. Typically, not in, not out, asked to guard the team's best player as long as it's not a post. But then again, there were games where we threw her in a post and said, you get to guard a post because you're a big guard. Just tremendous, tremendous player.
And then, Coach, I want to ask you just what excites you about this team going forward? Obviously, your girls are still very young. I believe Michaela is a junior. I know you're going to bring back a lot of talent. Just what are you excited about in terms of just going forward?
Well, again, just hope to continue to build off our success. Going forward, you got Kyla and Matt coming back as seniors, both, in my opinion, Division I kids. Still waiting to see what offers are going to come in for Kyla. But again, two tremendous guards that can handle pressure, can shoot the ball really well. You're bringing back Finley, who's, arguably one of the best players in the state, even as a sophomore. Just her ability to shoot, spread the floor, and defend the post, and be an anchor on the defense the way she was for us this year. The upside with her is so much. And then, we had Whitley coming off the bench this year, but Whitley was probably one of our better defenders, and she can shoot the ball, and she'll get to grow into a role as a senior and have more time and leadership responsibilities. And I already talked about Reagan going to have an opportunity to come in there. And again, that whole freshman group that we had on the bench, I know they didn't play a lot, but they had one of the most successful JV seasons we've had in a long time. And just, again, there's so much talent ahead of those kids. They just don't have their opportunity yet. But again, knowing what we got coming up and what we got coming back, it's just, hopefully we get to keep our region streak going. Hopefully, we're still competing for region championships, and we're still going to schedule hard and out of state. And we're going to challenge ourselves, and we've found a formula for success here, and we want to keep trying to replicate that as much as possible.
For sure. Now, Coach, obviously you talked about schedule. I would be remiss, so I'm extending a formal invite to you on TV, Coach. We want to formally invite you guys back to the Cork Kell Dave Hunter Basketball Classic. The dates this year, Coach, are December 12th and 13th. We're still working on the locations, but we'd love to have you guys participate.
Hey, River Ridge might want to host one of those if you're looking for a location.
Hey, we'll strongly consider it.
Hey, consider us. Like, right there, we might got a deal. Not that we have to be at home to host it, but we're looking for something that weekend to fill a game. So that's definitely something we're going to keep on our radar.
All right, there we go. Well, appreciate you, Coach. That's all the time we have. I'll be in touch. I did text you. I'm going to try to reach out again via email, but appreciate you, Coach. As always, great program you got down there in River Ridge.
Hey, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. There was Coach Jason Taylor coming up. We'll have a fast break headline, so don't go anywhere.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. So we're going to get into our fast break headlines. Craig, you have a great headline. I'm going to let you share in just a second, but I wanted to get your instant reaction. I'm going to have this up on the 5A blog for tomorrow. But Dutchtown hired a new coach, Kevon Glenn, formerly a Henry County Star. Had 95 tackles that season. They went 12-1, making it to the quarterfinals. He is now their head coach. Had a stint at Florida State, then obviously went to Georgia Southern. He had a great career there too, and then finished up with UConn before going to Georgia Southern as a player personnel analyst. So what's just your reaction to that new coach? Obviously Nikita Bowers over there at Banneker now, but what do you think about them bringing him in?
Yeah, well, that would be really interesting. I thought Dutchtown had a lot of confidence going into this upcoming season, and then you saw some players leave. Nikita Battle, I guess, ended up getting dismissed shortly after, lands at Banneker. So there's a lot of uncertainty naturally surrounding them. They get a coach that has all that experience coming from Georgia Southern, and actually Rance Gillespie, who just got the job at Rabun County, was also on that Georgia Southern staff with him last season. I think he was a quarterback coach and his assistant. So we've seen 2 Georgia Southern assistants land head coaching jobs in this last week.
100%. So it'll be a lot of fun, obviously. And also, you have Berkmar. They hired Bernard Williams as their new head coach after Enrico Hines left. Craig, I know you got a big headline before we get into our fast breaks. What you got?
Yeah, so I talked about it a little bit. This is Rance Gillespie, the former Valdosta coach. He just took over at Rabun County. This was announced yesterday. He becomes the 3rd head coach since 2021 for the program. 16th overall in Rabun County history, has a rich background. We talked about his experience last year on Georgia Southern's staff. He's also been at Banks County, Peach County, Valdosta from 2010 to 2015 and won that state title, Hart County, and then Brookstone in the GI, I think that was a GISA school, but very successful. He has an overall record of 170 and 91, 2 state titles at Peach County, 5 region championships, and 20 straight seasons with a playoff appearance. Rabun County is a tremendous program. It's going to be very interesting. They're in such a talented region. You got Elbert County with Coach Dyer taking over right there. You got Athens Christian in there. You got Commerce with Coach Gregory. I mean, this is
loaded.
When you look at Class A Division I, adding Coach Gillespie in there, there's some really decorated veteran coaches leading these smaller schools. I think it's going to be very exciting.
100% agree. All right, guys, we get started on fast break headlines. I'll get us started. Stars Mill Kendra Avaska, she was named Windy Girls Soccer Player of the Week after a great performance. She scored 8 goals and an assist, helping Stars Mill defeat Whitewater 3-0 and Central Carrollton 10-0. So far this year, they are 3-4, so still trying to get off the snot a little bit there and obviously make a nice run in the region to make the playoffs, but she has been phenomenal thus far, so we wanted to give her props here on the show. All right, our next headline, Whitefield Athletic Director Danny Ryan was named Region 5 Class A Division I Athletic Director of the Year. Via tweet, they said, congratulations to our Athletic Director Danny Ryan on being named Region 5A Division I Athletic Director of the Year. Your dedication and leadership are truly appreciated. Yesterday, Danny was recognized at the Georgia Athletic Directors Association Award Banquet.
Yep, and I mean, we've been doing the rankings for all the sports. I feel like they've been in the top 10 of that private for just across the board. Congrats to them for sure what he's done with the Wolfpack. But let's go to headline 3, some baseball news. Kennesaw Mountain earns an extra inning victory, and then Allatoona splits a doubleheader with Cartersville. 2 intriguing results from Cobb County. We obviously already talked to Walton's coach, but Austin Carter went 3 of 5 at the plate, drove in 2 runs to help Kennesaw Mountain to a 4-3 win in 8 innings against Mount Bethel on Saturday. This improved them to 8-3, a really solid start. John Trollinger went 3 of 4 and drove in a run. Aaron Higgins went 2 for 4 at the plate. George Lutz threw 5 innings and collected the win, allowing just 2 hits and 6 strikeouts. That did improve them to 8-3. They still haven't played their region opener. That will be tonight against South Cobb. So big matchup. Looking forward to that one in region play, see if they can improve to 9-3. And then Allatoona, this is a big victory for them against Cartersville. They actually took the series 2-3. They were coming off back-to-back losses to Carrollton and Hillgrove, pretty lopsided losses, but then pretty much like a season-changing victory in this series. They won the first game 8-0. Cartersville took this was last Friday, 5-3, the first of the doubleheader, and then Allatoona a 2-1 victory. Davis Bargeron was the winning pitcher. He pitched all 7 innings, allowing 3 hits. He struck out 9 batters and actually helped Coach Keith Hansen earn his 500th win of his career. So we had Coach Amos on earlier. Now Allatoona's coach, Keith Hansen, gets into that 500 win club. Pretty cool to have that happen right after each other. Then Jack Reynolds and Cruz Paul each doubled in the series. Sam Tozak had a hit and RBI. Allatoona is now 9-3 and more importantly 2-1 in their region. They're going to take on Cedartown tonight and should be a intriguing matchup. Allatoona is rising up in the rankings. I believe they're up at about number 7 or 6 after that huge series victory over Cartersville.
Yeah, absolutely huge. All right, I'll get to the next headline. New head coach Dedrick Mayo brings wealth of experience to Grovetown program. They'll have a new football coach for the 2025 season after announcing the hiring. Coach Evans was the defensive coordinator for the Warriors prior to taking over for Damian Postel in 2021 and led the program for the past 4 seasons. Grovetown has competed in Class 6A since 2016, but is now in the largest classification and housed in the stacked Region 4 with teams like defending champion Grayson, Archer, Rockdale County, Heritage, Conyers, Newton, and South Gwinnett. This past season, Grovetown finished 1-9, although competitive, was not reflective of their overall record. Coach Mayo is coming to Grovetown from his most recent position as the head coach of Highlands Community College while he was at the helm and coaching in Kansas Jayhawk Community College Conference of the National Junior College Athletic Association. Mayo compiled an 11-11 record. It's been Mayo's dream over the course of his coaching journey to become a head coach in the state of Georgia, and that now has been achieved as he leads Grovetown into a new era.
Yep, and he's also had a ton of success in the state of Florida. He was the Daytona Coach of the Year and did a similar situation where he helped rebuild a program that was looking to get into the playoffs. All right, headline number 5. Revisit Savannah's big win, epic comeback over McIntosh County Academy. This is on the boys' side. First state title in basketball since 1998 was another thriller. Reminds me a lot of that River Ridge game, just like a huge comeback. It looks like they were on the ropes the entire time. Savannah's defense buckled down as the Blue Jackets closed on an 18-2 run to beat the Buccaneers 58-52 and deliver them their first state title in 27 years. And just a very exciting overall matchup all season long. Savannah and McIntosh County Academy, number 1 and number 2, playing each other in region play. And then when you have a familiar opponent, you're able to make those adjustments and get the job done.
100%. And I also want to give a shout out to Makai Joyner, a very underrated player here in the state of Georgia, but had an epic performance in that state championship game. All right, guys, that's going to conclude our fast break headlines. Next, we'll talk to basketball savant Kyle Sandy, so don't go anywhere. Come right back here on the Peachtree Sports Network.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. So we're going to get into it. Kyle Sandy here in just a moment when he joins us, but obviously we'll ask him a little bit about, his thoughts on the state championships. But Craig, obviously we went through it all week so far, but just what game was maybe your favorite that you got to see?
Ooh, I thought the Newton girls being able to beat a team that has had their number with Grayson was so huge. And Newton, they've been so competitive just in football, basketball over the years. And Grayson's just been such a big rivalry. For them to get that win in the big moment, I feel like that's huge. The boys were very close, but I think just overall for the Newton community, that was a big deal. And also the Creekside girls, I thought their season was just something special that we didn't see, and a lot of young talent that they could be the team to beat in the future.
For sure. All right, let's go ahead and bring on Kyle Sandy Spiel. So Kyle, how you doing, man?
Hey guys, it's good to see you. What a great week of high school basketball we had. Such a great culmination over there in Macon. One of the best weeks I think I've ever seen as far as state championships go.
Speaking of, I want you to expound on that a little bit. It is your 10-year anniversary of Sandy Spiel. Congratulations on that great honor. Over a decade you've been covering the sport on your own. Just why do you think this was the best that you've seen? You've been to so many state championships. Why did this culmination of talent and basketball and teams all just make it one of the best ones you've seen?
Oh, I mean, just all the games were just so crazy. How many amazing fourth quarter comebacks did we see? How many upsets did we see? Great individual performances. I mean, these games had you on the edge of your seat until the final buzzer. We had that crazy Southwest Macon game. They had the whole city behind them, but here comes little old Best Academy from Atlanta coming back with a 10-0 run to close the game. You see Savannah using a 16-1 run to stun MCA. Craig just mentioned those great Newton Rams matchups going back and forth against Grayson on the girls' side. Just so many fantastic games. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that River Ridge comeback. 19-2, they outscored Langston Hughes in that fourth quarter. Kyla Canty with 9 of her 12 points in that final frame to get that big W. So just amazing games all throughout. Sandy Creek, Cedar Grove, just fantastic. All the games were close, and that's all you can ask for this time of year.
And then for you, what game maybe surprised you the most, or what result out of all of them this weekend that maybe surprised you the most?
Maybe Pace Academy in North Oconee, but if you've been following all season long, you kind of know like North Oconee is really, really good. So it should not come as a surprise. But Pace Academy was beating everybody in the postseason by 37 points per game. When I initially looked at this bracket, I thought, initially I said, okay, North Oconee versus Pace Academy. I'm going with North Oconee. But then when I saw Pace Academy just drilling really good teams by nearly 40 points per game, that kind of swayed me in the other direction. And Sharman White, it feels like he never loses state championship games. But Rick Rasmussen, a great job, of course, back-to-back state champs. Justin Wise with 27 points, a superstar sophomore. That was maybe a little bit surprising, but again, like I mentioned, if you know Kamari Brooks and the rest of that roster, Thrasher Wilkins, you know those guys are winners. So I guess it shouldn't have been too big of a surprise to see North Oconee repeat as state champs.
100%. And then obviously I want to ask you just, a little bit about that finale. I mean, what a great way to end the state championships. I mean, Newton gave Wheeler a battle, and Wheeler is battle tested. They play a national schedule. They're loaded at every position. Coda Suttle, Kevin Savage, Coleman Landry, Tyler Jordan. I go on and on. Talk about that game against obviously Wheeler and their ability to just continue to battle back and give them all they had.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, those two teams hooked up in the regular season, and Wheeler was up like 15 points the entire game. They pretty much blew past him. Ted Neal, who's going to App State for Newton, was in foul trouble. Well, he got in foul trouble again just the other day in the state championship. But the little old Rams down 20-10 after the first quarter, they kept clawing back. Zachary Harden hits a 3 from half court, and that was a momentum builder to make it 34-30 going into the half. And it's so funny. We have all these great basketball players, but it's a kid going to Minnesota for football that jumps in 26 points to lead Newton to give them a chance to win that game. They were up 2 going into the fourth quarter on Wheeler. Just a great effort from the Rams. But at the end of the day, Wheeler, they've been there before. They've done it now 10 times, winning a state title. They know how to get the job done. Kevin Savage was great. Colvin Landrew as well. But yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to Newton to even making that game tight and even having the lead in the fourth quarter. I think that did maybe open up some eyes for a couple folks that thought Wheeler was going to run away with it.
And Kyle, I want to ask you about Class 3A on the girls' side with Cherokee Bluff. I feel like when you started Sandy Spiel, that school didn't even exist yet. They had a great playoff run, that buzzer beater that they banked in, and then getting that win over Baldwin. What can you say about what they've been able to do just to win a title this year?
Wow, yeah, that was very interesting to see how it played out, because going into that game, we kind of knew, okay, Baldwin's going to have the massive advantage in the front court with Janae Walker, Cassidy Neal, who's going to Georgia Southwestern, Surrey Clark's a great sophomore, but we always kind of think that you might win with guards at the high school level, and that's where Cherokee Bluff had their advantage with Claire Carlson, who had a great game, Bristol Kirsch, who had that banked-in winner in the Final Four. And just the way that Cherokee Bluff was able to handle those body blows of Baldwin. Baldwin went on a big run there in the first half, but Cherokee Bluff was able to hold their footing and then make some plays, knock down some outside shots. But Emory Jones coming off the bench, 14 points, 6 of 8 from the field. That is 14 points that you don't always account for. You know you're going to get about 20 a game from Bristol and 20 from Claire Carlson, but where are you going to get those other points from? And you saw a great hero in Emory Jones, a great cheerleader that has won titles in that as well, I believe. But getting the job done on the big stage, coming off the bench, and you know the only reason she was playing maybe that much was because Hallie Wilson was getting in foul trouble. They're starting posts, so she comes in, knocks down 14 points, knocking down jump shots. That's what it takes to win a state title. People have to step up, and the Cherokee Bluff Bears got that from everybody on their roster.
And then, Kyle, let's ask you about the big one, man. I mean, Tri-Cities and Woodward Academy, Jalen Wingfield nearly has a 2020 game. We don't see that a lot. I mean, he absolutely balled out in that one. You had, obviously, Deke Cooper stepping up. You had Zach Foster. Just talk about the performance of Jalen Wingfield. Has he cemented his status as that guy?
Yeah, it seems like it because in those 2 games he played against them prior in the season, he averaged only 8 points against Woodward Academy. And I was thinking, well, geez, if Tri-Cities is going to win, they need their star player to play like a star. And he was a star from the opening tip. 20 points, 19 rebounds, dominating inside, blocking some shots, just his overall physicality and the energy that he played with inside, really setting the tone for Tri-Cities. And Tri-Cities, they are no stranger to winning state championships now. I mean, Amari Forts is one of the best in the building in the state of Georgia as far as X and O's go. He always has great talent. Sean Van Dorn, Trey Keith, guys like that, really helping out and helping the cause. And it's tough to beat good teams multiple times. You know, those 2 teams are region foes. They locked up many times in Region 4. But the game that mattered the most was played in the Macon Centerplex, and that was a game that Tri-Cities was able to capture.
100%. And then just in terms of the sport in general, Kyle, I just want to ask you just what do you believe is maybe the next steps? Obviously, it was great for the games being on GPB, but what's coming up next in your eyes? Do we need to move the venue to Atlanta? I mean, a lot of fans are claiming for it. The coaches are. Just what do we need to do to better the sport in your eyes?
Yeah, we do hear that a lot every time this year. It's an evergreen topic. We want the games back in Atlanta, and I understand. I understand. Now, I will say that Southwest Macon game, that was packed. The Centerplex, literally, people were getting turned back, but of course, that's because the school was 15 minutes down the road playing for a state championship. Yeah, I understand the need or the want for people to move it back to Atlanta and a little bit better facilities, maybe upgraded facilities. But the Centerplex does such a great job working with the GHSA. And of course, we have to think this is not monopoly money. This is real business. This is real bottom line stuff. Like it has to make dollars and cents for both parties involved to come to an agreement. And I think that's just a big thing of money ruling everything in the world. That it comes down to that, and it makes sense. It has to make sense. But yes, it would be nice maybe to get it back to Atlanta one day because when we saw St. Pius and Upson Lee at Georgia Tech McCamish Pavilion, how packed out that was a special moment. But I will say we almost had an equally as special moment with that Southwest Best Academy game. But I don't foresee the state championships moving anytime soon. I think they're anchored down in Macon, and as long as the Centerplex is able to every couple of years maybe tinker some things, upgrade here and there, I think they're going to be there for the long term.
100%. Well, Kyle, it's all the time that we have. I want to say thanks very much for coming on. Make sure you guys go and you subscribe to SandySpill.com with that QR code. And Kyle, congrats, man, on 10 years of Sandy Spill.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Anytime. All right, guys, coming up, we will have Hayden's high school hits. We'll get the latest of what he's working on ScoreATL.com. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. All right, welcome back, guys, to the show. So we got Hayden Gilbert along with us with Craig Sager. So we got a lot we're going to get into in this segment. So I want to first start off, obviously, with baseball. I thought you wrote a great 2A blog yesterday. Obviously, Craig does our baseball rankings. Morgan County, what do you like about them, or both of you guys like about the team?
I mean, he has them as their top-ranked team in 2A right now. You really look at Morgan County, and they've really been right there. But one of their main struggles is they've been in that region with Harlem, who has won 2 straight state titles, and it's just the last 2 years have been nearly impossible to beat. But this year they're out of that region. Harlem's now dropped down in classification, and you really look at this Morgan County team, and you have to think they have a chance to win their first ever state title.
Yeah, and Harlem's just so impressive. The fact that they could, I think the last 3 years, maybe they've lost 2 or 3 games.
Ridiculous.
And they don't schedule just their region schedule. I mean, they're playing 6A, 5A schools. I mean, they're so good. But you had one of the coolest stats, I think, in your 2A blog yesterday. You were talking about how out of all the teams currently ranked in Class 2A, none have won a championship in the past 10 years. And yeah, Morgan County's #1. So usually that's a pretty wide open one, but do you feel like Morgan County, with their strength of schedule, the success, they have become that favorite?
I think you really look at that Morgan County, and you look at that region, they should be able to. Rutland's undefeated, but they haven't played a particularly tough schedule, and the rest of those teams in that region aren't particularly great. You look at that schedule, they're going to have a high seed. It's not going to be a 1 seed more because of the playoff rankings, but you really look at, they're going to be a high seed, and they're going to have a pretty easy path to the quarterfinals. And then once you get there, it becomes a lot easier to get further and further in the playoffs and finally win that championship.
Certainly. And then obviously your soccer rankings came out yesterday also on the girls' side. Lots of movement this last week, especially in the private division. You had to send a lot of teams out. What was it about this last week? Was it them getting into region play where there was so much change?
A lot of it was that a lot of these teams have now played each other. So when you, especially in the private classification, look at Mount Vernon, Mount Perrin, Holy Innocents, they're all in these same areas. Most of them are in the Atlanta area, so they play each other. And then you have one team that gets 2 or 3 losses, and a team that's ranked 8th or 9th has a loss to them. You kind of have to drop, if you're going to drop one of them out of the rankings, you kind of have to drop both of them out.
Yeah, and there were obviously some tough decisions also with teams that might be hovering around 500, but just the strength of the schedule you felt like they should stay in.
Well, the biggest one for me was Chambly. Chambly, I dropped them out of the rankings. They're 3 and 4, but you look at it, you looked at it, it was a really hard decision because every team they lost to was ranked inside the top 5 of one of the classifications. Mm-hmm. I think Chambly will be back in these rankings in the near future. I don't think it's going to be too long, but you really look at Chambly. They're a really good soccer program. They just played an ungodly tough schedule, and same with a team like Midtown that I think they either are right at 500, just above or just below, who have played a really tough schedule, and I think they'll make a deep run in the playoffs, but right now they're just on the fringe or just out of the the rankings.
And of course, that's a program that's made it to the finals the last few years, so they're probably replacing a lot of people, figuring out their new roster, losing those close games, but certainly can come on strong in the end of the season.
For sure. And then I want to ask you about a good 5A team, Greenbrier. Off to a 7-1 start. They're going to be featuring my 5A blog. I really like their defense. 5 shutouts so far this year. Just what do you like about them?
What I like about them is you just look at them. They're always there. They're always a really good soccer program. And they beat some really good teams. I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but looking through these rankings, you look through multiple of the teams and you go, hey, they lost to Greenbrier, or if the one team that did beat them, it was a really close game. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the 5A rankings, and I think Roswell's clearly #1 right now. They're undefeated. They've beaten all kinds of elite programs. Yes. But then you look through 2 through 5, and you have Laster, Northgate, Pope, and Greenbrier. And for me, all those are kind of interchangeable. If you wanted to have Greenbrier at #2, I have no problem with that. I think one thing that holds Greenbrier back for me is they haven't played some of these other teams that are in the Atlanta area just because of where they're located.
That's a good point. And then I want to ask you a little bit about just what's your thoughts on these rankings nationally? I mean, Walton, Brookwood, Roswell, Lambert, obviously Greenbrier are all in the national spotlight in terms of max preps. How good is our state in girls soccer right now?
We're at this point in soccer in general, I think the state of Georgia is one of the premier states in the country, especially when you look at spring, which only the Southeast really plays soccer in the spring. Most places play in the winter or fall. When you look at those spring rankings, I think at this point Georgia is the premier state for girls soccer especially, but even boys soccer.
Good point. And then Hayden, what else do you have coming up? What else are you going to be working on this week? Any spring sports? I know you cover soccer obviously, but spring sports you're excited to watch kind of unveil itself this spring.
So I haven't started yet, but I'll be working on the gymnastics recruiting blog today. That season's really getting to full swing. And then today I have Rabun County's hired a new head football coach after the saga with Michael Davis and all of the chaos that surrounded this past season and now the past few weeks is finally being put to rest, and they can finally get past the turmoil that came with his retirement.
For sure. Last comment here.
Yeah, what do you think? I mentioned just that region, all the new coaches in there with Coach Gregory, Coach Dyer, just how much talent's in that small region?
It's ridiculous. You look at two state championship head coaches. Athens Academy has been really good and is going to be really good again. And then Coach Dyer's made a state finals at Archer. Just a wealth of coaching talent.
100%. I'll be a region to watch. We can't wait. Obviously, football season is kind of coming around the corner here fast. We'll have spring practice here quick. But that's all the time we have for today. We'll be here same place, same time tomorrow from 12 to 1 right here on the Peachtree Sports Network.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting gogcso.com for more information. Gwinnett County, together we can make a difference.